is brought to you live by Bahamas Maritime Connection.
What is maritime?
Maritime simply relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime also protects our seas and borders by way of our local Bahamas Defense Force.
It is very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
And pleasant good evening to you, our valued listening audience. Welcome one, welcome all, welcome to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Our producer for the night is Mr. Sensational himself. You know, the one and only Mr. Craig Gibson. There he is, giving that salute, that royal salute that he learned some time ago. I think we teach him that salute. Somebody teach him that salute. Boy, but he got it down back, eh? We're coming to you live via Love 97 FM. This is Tuesday, the 8th day of April 2025. And if it's a Tuesday, you know the deal. It's maritime. Tick, 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 tick. Matters. We encourage that if you're driving and tuned in with us, please do so cautiously and ensure to take your time in getting wherever it is you are trying to get safely. As the saying goes, drive to arrive alive. Our sponsors for the night show are 101 Pharmacy and also Island Care Pharmacy up there in Freeport. For all your medication needs, check out my little cousin Shantia McBride and the lovely team at 101 Pharmacy in Nassau and of course Island Care Pharmacy in Freeport. Fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site 1on1pharmacy.com. That's 1on1pharmacy.com. The three locations are East Street South, Charles Sanders Highway, and of course, Explorers Way in downtown Freeport. We are secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, and at BMC, we provide a full slate of ISPS maritime security services. Tonight, we wish to discuss the most heated recent maritime-related issues in our dailies. Topics shall include the following. A hotelier urges the intervention of our government over the Challenge ship $1.5 million fee. And that's anywhere between 1.5 and 2 million, I think it is, or something to that effect. So Mr. Robert Sandy Sands, as we know him, suggests that the private sector and the government should intervene in President Trump's mandate. My question is, why should they? Does this really impact shipping in the Bahamas to the extent where arrangements can't be made so that we would not be impacted by this? I dare say we can do it. Of course, that calls for us utilizing our Bahamian-owned vessels in a far more strategic way. How about us just pushing for our government to assist Bahamian ship owners to expand their capacities for carriage of what the Chinese-built ships were transporting? And we know the Chinese-built ships are mainly tropical shipping, eh? They have some 9 ships recently built by China, and because of that, they're responsible for more than half of the supplies that were coming into the Bahamas from Florida. I don't know why, because that was never necessary. We have enough hardware owned by Bahamians to be able to bring in everything tropical brings plus everything they brings if they were to pump up the volume. as the DJ them say, as Craig them to say, pop up the volume, wet, wet, as I go. If they were to pump up the volume, we'll be able to bring everything tropical brings in here and more. Because we have that many Bahamian hardware, Bahamian ship owners with smaller vessels that can make more trips. And that could increase the capacity by, instead of roll on, roll off, or roll as we call it, load on, load off, make them low, which means they could carry 3 times or 4 times the amount of containers they used to carry. And I ain't guessing this. I'm a maritime man. I work on container ships. I drive container ships. I have stocked container ships. I can tell you this is readily possible. So why are Bahamian business people, them big fellas, like the hotels and the big food stores and the big warehouses and all that, why are they concerned if Tropical cannot do what they used to do? Obviously, Tropical about to close their doors. And I can tell you, come next week Thursday, I can't see anything changing. I can't see it. Now, if y'all could see it, y'all know the deal. You can call the show at 326-8255 at any point in time and let me know that you all see it differently. Or, yeah, Glenn, I with you. You don't need Tropical to bring stuff in here. We got enough Bahamian ships, Bahamian owned ships that are not built in China that could bring these things at the same rate. And then we can have some of these big entities adopt some of these ships for their purpose only. And they can buy the containers themselves and own them. So, there's so many ways to skin this cat for the benefit of Bahamians that I think it's a blessing if, come next week Thursday, Tropical shipping have to close. Then they have to, I say close down because I know the deal, right? If they wouldn't be able to make profit. And if you can't make profit, why do you stay in business? As a matter of fact, you've been making a big loss. If you got to pay $1 million every time one of your ships return to Florida. And you get 9 ships. So, the intent of this mandate by President Trump doesn't leave much room for negotiation of small Chinese-built ships to be exempted. You know, it is believed that because these ships are based in West Palm Beach, and because, well, guess what? You know what's ironic? Tropical shipping is in West Palm Beach, taking up a lot of room, and they big business for the entire Caribbean. I mean, tropical shipping is the go-to for the Caribbean, even the Bahamas. Let's call it what it is. And what else you get in West Palm Beach? Mar-a-Lago. What is Mar-a-Lago? That's Mr. Trump's golf course resort. So there should already be some understanding of Tropical by the president. Because he's always in West Palm Beach. I'm sure he's aware of everything that's in West Palm Beach that's big like Tropical. And I'm not sure that they're going to be successful in their negotiation to try and get exempted. Because the President Trump that I know, and I know him personally, boy, but the President Trump that I saw, you know what I think his position could be? Y'all go and build ships in China, and y'all operating out of Florida, but y'all wasting the money, y'all ain't leaving the money in the US, y'all going to China to build ships, and y'all making all this money from US? Man, y'all get paid. You had rights to build a ship right here in the US, or don't go to China, who's our competition, to build the ships. That's now, I ain't saying that's what Mr. Trump can say now, but boy, knowing the kind of mindset, I have been led to think Mr. Trump, he easy, right? And I think your negotiation can cause him to say, okay, since you all small, although you all build your ships in China, the enemy, we can kind of like, you know, we can give you all a blind. I don't see that happening. Now, some of y'all may be far more optimistic than I am when it comes to Mr. Trump making exceptions or exemptions. But we will see come next week, Thursday, how the dominoes crumble when it comes to this situation with the Chinese built ships. And I don't think Tropical get no ships right now in operation that he ain't built in China. Right? I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think. And so, in that regard, I believe that if things go the way it's being projected, the great tropical shipping will be no more. And somebody got to take the slack. And there's somebody got to be an entity that do not have Chinese-built ships. And in our country today, we got a whole heap of them on the western side of the pond. We just got to make sure these ships are Caribbean coded so that they could be in and out of the U.S. because most of them are non-solus. Non-solus, see, I got a little technical here. Non-solus means they below 500 gross tons. So cargo ships of more than 500 gross tonnage and above are subject to solus. MAPOL will, of course, to get an IOPP certificate, once you're over 400 gross tons, you need an IOPP, eh? So that's solus only. But solus is the main thing that caused these ships to have to do so much things to comply. So if they Caribbean coded, which means they got to comply with a watered down version of solus. And it ain't easy now, don't get me wrong. But most of them are Caribbean coded. That going into Florida today, all of them are. And some of them are solus because if you go over 500 tons, you got to be full solus to go anywhere else outside of your country. So what we're saying is we got enough hardware, ships-wise, owned by Bahamians, that can take on an additional 55% of what they do today, or that 55% that Tropical was doing, I should say. Right? They can take that on by increasing the monitoring. They could go 2 or 3 times, they could go at least 2 times a week to bring in cargo. And instead of bringing in 20 containers because they got them all on chassis, they can stack them straight on the deck and put one on top of the next and one on top of that and have 60 containers. Right? And if they continue doing that and all of them do that, and look here, that will be a joy. Because most of that money will be in our local economy because we are using our own people ships. And we asked, why wasn't emphasis placed on Bahamian-owned ships that were built in the U.S. for the most part to be the carriers for major hotels and suppliers from Jump Street? Yeah, you got choices. But why your choices got to be exclusive to Bahamian-owned ships? And now that your choice is in trouble, you want the government to assist in keeping Bahamian-owned ships out of these jobs as far as bringing cargo into the country? No, sir. No. Mr. Sandy Sands, I say no, sir. Let's use our Bahamian ships. This is a golden opportunity. Golden opportunity for Bahamian-owned ship owners to really dig deep and get in the business of importing or transporting goods from Florida into the Bahamas. And they got the hardware. And they can increase their fleet. And we can have new people joining the fleet with bigger ships if we know that there's going to be that demand. Because if tropical shipping is put out today, that's for at least 4 years, eh? And it's going to be very difficult for them to rebound after 4 years of making no profit. Because I want you to know, those 9 ships plus whatever they have, for the most part, are probably all mortgaged. So, they probably can go belly up. Well, I ain't putting that on nobody now. That ain't Glenn Bain's hoping and wishing that type of thing happen to a company. But the facts are there. The ships were built in China. Mr. Trump is not one that readily pulls back or give exemptions to his mandates. can't see it happening. Again, 326-8255 is the number to call if you feel like there's some alternative for tropical shipping to continue what they're doing today. As I said, with increased trips and of course stacking instead of using chassis, our Bahamian-owned fleet can accommodate the anticipated paradigm shift with immediate effect. So come next week, Thursday, the 17th of April, be ready now. That's what the jungle group them say. Be ready now. Yeah, be ready now. Which one? Saxon or Valley say that? Whoever say that, that's how we can on now. Be ready now, eh? Bring it on, Mr. Trump. Being backing down from that, we got plenty ships that ain't made in China that could continue this trade. But the question is, do those larger entities, the hotels and the food stores and the warehouses, do they want this to be the case? Do they want to use Bahamian-owned hardware? Do they want to adopt some of these ships that are capable of bringing their goods? And they could purchase and own their own containers that are going back and forth with their goods. Some of these vessels could be exclusively pinned to you. And the ship owners could venture to buy more hardware if they know that demand, because they're not going to let you down. We got real ships with real ship owners and real ship operators. Very easy, you know. Yes, tropical may be more convenient because they got that big yard and all that space in Florida, but we got warehouses too. And if you're going to be bringing your things in more often just for you, and the stuff ain't stay in our warehouse long. So, let's get with it. Let's get with it. And I believe that we need to talk to our government, you know. And I'm not talking about the F&M administration or the PLP administration or the DNA administration or the coalition administration if ever they get in and take over the country. I'm talking to whoever's the government of the day. The government of the day needs to make a mandate that all procurements for government entities, in other words, if government spending money to buy things, that they are imported by Bahamian-owned ships only if they come through Florida. The government shouldn't be spending money to have things coming on tropical shipping or Crowley shipping or Betty K. If Betty K used to be owned by a Bahamian, Mr. Kelly, who died many years ago, may his soul continue to rest in peace. But I've been getting vibes that Betty K is no longer owned by local Bahamians. Has been sold out to foreign entities for the most part. So I put them in the same category, eh? With the foreign-owned ships that are making a bunch of money bringing government stuff in our country. I can't get in your business if the private entities want to use you. And I mean, that's their choice. Not that I'm encouraging them to use you, because we got enough Bahamian-owned hardware to bring in anybody's stuff, and the price could even go lower. Got a call on the line? Caller, you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Good evening, Captain Bain. This is Captain Brain.
My brother.
How are you?
My brother. Oh man, I'm in top shape and getting better all the time. Boy, you miss a couple shows. People ask me all kind of questions. What happened to Captain Brain, who's calling and know so much about these things? He ain't got no position on these things. Eh? I'm so glad you're calling today, because this tropical shipping situation with those Chinese-owned ships that basically gonna have to stop coming into the U.S. as of next Thursday. This is a big deal, my brother.
Yes. Well, Cap, to be honest, right? We have some fundamental, you and I, on this particular issue. I was listening to your comments. Some of the fundamental issues I think we have not really looked at is starting off with the complexity of the supply chain, right?
Don't say we, say you. I look at all of that, but go ahead.
Yeah, when you talk about the complexity of the supply chain and our ability to, on day one, be able to take over that portion of the trade, it's going to be difficult for a lot of reasons, and First of all, there's going to be the tropical shipping. Not only there are contracts that are involved in all these different agreements with not only hotels but food stores and everything else throughout the region, not just in the Bahamas, right? Then on top of that, there's going to be a huge shock to the market because everyone got to now start scrambling. Our local fleet, whether we like it or not, you say be ready on day one. I respectfully differ from you on that. In that, we have a lot of issues with the management of our local fleet. Now you're talking about government. You made a statement about government government procurement being outsourced solely to Bahamian vessels. Now you want the Bahamian vessels definitely go out of business because the government don't pay on time, right? Most of the local mailboat owners, they complaining now every day. I haven't gotten my government subsidy for X amount of months, and so that's going to be a big issue again. And then also, when we talk about the compliance of the local vessels to all the international requirements to which you would have alluded to earlier, I don't know, man. We have been really and truly just on the we are right on the brink of some of these vessels being detained every day because of the fact that they're not, the local owners have to have a new paradigm shift in terms of how they think and all this maintenance issues and things that you have to do and have to keep the boat running and crew change out. It's going to be very, very difficult for us to be ready to go on day one. And the shock to that system that we have out there, which is, in my opinion, very chaotic at the moment. You go to the Western and the Portuguese dock where our local ships, where they do business, that system just simply cannot work. And I think that the demand will overwhelm them very, very quickly.
Which you talking about our core development?
Now we're talking about the local. I'm talking about the local ship owners, and their management structure that they currently have in place. That they and a lot of things will have to change, and no doubt they probably will over time. But I think there'll be a major shock to the system, and it's going to take our people a little bit of time to get up to scratch. Because I'm telling you, it's we are very, very archaic to a certain degree in the way we manage, with the way the local shipping industry is managed individually.
Well, let me put it to you, Captain Brain, that you are absolutely correct in your projections. I can't knock it, but you don't have all the information I have. I have actually spoken to some of these ship owners that frequent Florida on an ongoing basis, but not a very frequent basis, right? Their vessels do not get detained, but they don't have the volume to demand that they operate often enough going into Florida, because Tropical and Betty K and the rest of them have the biggest, have like 70% of all trades coming in, and they only got about 30% as we speak. Now, we still have other ships, and I don't know if they built in China or not, which is Betty K and Crowley, right? But the Bahamian vessels, they all utilize chassis. They don't stack, right? They could stack, but they don't stack because they don't have the volume where they are that would be necessary for them to stack. But do you know that every trip they make now, if they start to stack, they could carry 3 times the volume they normally bring? Do you know that if these ships go twice a week instead of twice a month, they will increase their volume by that much times? And every trip is now 3 times the amount of TEUs they can carry. I have had discussions with them, and they are saying to me that from day one, once these suppliers come to them, you see, the suppliers are now you talk about contract. the contract between Tropical and the people they supply or the entities they supply will come to a halt if Tropical got to pay $1 million on the way back with any ship that leaves with goods for these people. So Tropical probably can be looking for a way out of that contract.
But the good part about one of the good things I see coming out of something like this would be, you know, for years there have been the outcry by Bahamian ship owners concerning not just not the international portion of that trade, but the cabotage trade, the inter-island trade with that Tropical seemingly gobbled up over time, and that's like goods going to Exuma and these other places. Maybe that creates an opportunity there for Bahamians for us to start off there. But I mean, there will invariably be a few that are able to take advantage of the international portion of the route. But then there's also things like ship capacity, and now you stack in 3 high engine sizes. Are the engines built for the engines the right size to handle that new load, and all these other stuff that they have to take into consideration. And then once they do that, then they'll invariably, if they have to change those engines, they got to change engine ratings and chief engineers and the like. So there's a lot to consider in this, and it's a very complex situation. But in every situation, I think there's opportunity, and so I just want to encourage my Bahamian brothers and ship owners to take note, be on top of this, and be prepared for to take advantage of when the opportunity present themselves.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, because at the end of the day, if focus is shifted to the Bahamian fleet, like you say, we can improve the size vessels. We can improve, in some cases, I don't think it's necessary to improve the size engine. They probably go slower, but the type of industrial engines they have, they ain't gonna spook. They can still be able to move the ships. So if this seismic shift happens, in my opinion, the sooner those suppliers come to our local vessel owners who has the capacity to assist them, the sooner the kinks could be ironed out. Because, like you said, it's not just a flick the switch and the light goes on situation.
Yep.
This is a very complicated, because now we know that Tropical shipping in the U.S., their site, their facility, could hold hundreds of containers at a time, right? And these suppliers, that works in their favor. Another thing is Tropical shipping would provide the containers, the reefer containers and the dry containers to carry their goods. So the Bahamian ship owner wouldn't be able to cough up that money, because containers are very expensive. But if the suppliers,
time to get one.
but I'm saying that the suppliers,
5 years.
no, but then you could use Tropical. Tropical ain't be using theirs no more. Plus they owing to these suppliers. I'm sure Tropical would say, okay, I will sell you some containers. I sell it to them ship owners. I'll sell it to you, and at least you could keep your stuff going, eh? Because Tropical needs money too. They ain't making no more money, you know.
But you know, I heard you mention earlier about the government's intervention.
But that is what Mr. Sandy Sands is suggesting happen. Government needs to intervene. Why would government intervene if Tropical having problems and we have Bahamian owned ships which could take up the slack?
But my thing is, I personally believe this is a purely commercial issue that presents opportunities, like I said earlier. But I think our Bahamian brothers, we need to pull up our socks, and then you have some regulatory matters that the government's gonna pull up their socks on. That's the intervention that I would expect, so that the ships would be more in compliance, and you'll have less disruption to the supply chain.
Yeah, but that wouldn't apply to Tropical ships. He's talking about Tropical ships. The government needs to intervene so that Tropical ships could continue what they're doing. That's what he wants.
No, we've been trying. No, I don't share those sentiments.
No, I can't support that.
No, I don't share those sentiments of government intervention, that private initiative. If Tropical fall, maybe that creates an opportunity for, like you said,
Not
local
maybe,
ship owners
it
to build up fleet
will
and-
automatically create opportunities
Yeah.
for Bahamian-owned vessels, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think our government should be meddling with the U.S. government with their policies, talking about we looking out for tropical shipping.
Oh, you will be smart to stay in your lane and let the
Stay in
big
your
boys
lane.
get out on that end, right?
Sit small until your name call, and that's what it is.
Indeed. So I'll just sit down and I'll call back.
I appreciate your input, my brother. It's very timely and very, very, very crucial. Thank you very much. Oh yes, that is my brother, Captain Herbert Brain. And as you could have heard, and I think we got another call on the line, Mr. Producer. No, okay, that one blinking for nothing. So as you would have heard, he is quite knowledgeable about these things. In many cases more so than me, but in some cases I got him in the bag, right? And his concern is very valid. His concern that this seismic shift is not just a matter of flicking the switch and the light comes on. There are going to be a lot and lots of kinks that need to be ironed out. Because quite frankly, what tropical shipping represents today to the Bahamas is not an easy feat to replace. What tropical shipping represents today to the rest of the Caribbean is far more difficult to replace. And I'll tell you why. It's more difficult for the rest of the Caribbean. Simply because the rest of the Caribbean are so far away from Florida that their local ships, like how we got our local ship owners owning vessels that could go between the Bahamas and Florida, you can imagine if our local ship owners try to take freight from Florida to Barbados or Antigua or even Jamaica and countries like that, it will not be the same type voyage. They would need larger ships to take down those oceans all the way to those places. They would need ships that could carry more fuel to get them all the way down to the Eastern Caribbean. So it's not, and I can tell you that in the Bahamas, we have more Bahamian ship owners with bigger and better ships than the rest of the Caribbean. So trying to replace tropical shipping in the rest of the Caribbean will be a nightmare. And I wouldn't even want to take on that discussion as to what they're going to do if tropical really is going to be stopped next week Thursday. They're going to suffer for a while because they don't have any. The thing about it is the tropical ships are fit to purpose. They're built to purpose. They're built with flat bottoms and could carry a lot of load. You're not going to find ships with flat bottom that could carry a lot of load. Because most ships that carry a lot of load are heavy laden. They have deep drafts. So it's not as simple as, oh, we got another caller? Caller, you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Captain Bailey.
Very pleasant good evening, my dear. How are you?
I'm well. I don't know, I don't know if I missed the first part, but you seem to think that tropical will be out of business because of this rate change.
I think that's what they are also saying. That not only me, the tropical themselves are saying that.
They saying not to gain support and they're trying not to pay it, but that cost will just be transferred to the Bahamian public.
So how could it be transferred to the Bahamian public if these people that tropical supply could just shift to a Bahamian-owned vessel and continue to pay what they pay now? They don't have to pay that increase. That's the whole.
But tropical could also shift their ships.
No, they can't ship. They got 9 ships that were built in China. What are they going to do with them? They're paying mortgage on them.
About 6 or 7 that were not.
No, but they got. But I don't think they have that many ships.
They could change the route if wherever those vessels are going and change the route. But I'm saying that you talking as if like tropical will be out of business. That cost, which was averaging $200 or $250 per container, will just be transferred to the consumer.
Yeah, but which
They're
consumer
not
is going to pay that if they don't have to?
And I have to pay the fee.
Which consumer is going to pay that if they don't have to?
Not, well, they have to because
No, they don't have to. They can change the line that we use another ship. Were they built in China?
right, Tropical can do that. Yeah.
No. The supplier can do. So Tropical can't put that increase on them. Is what I'm saying. How could Tropical put that on them if they have options?
So you really believe these mail boats have the capacity? One a Tropical ship can take how many containers?
1,100. They have 1,100 TUs as the average.
That 1,100 would be the total of all the mail boats in Nassau.
Well, you mean 1,100 would be these are not mail boats I'm talking about. I'm talking about ships that can stack 3 and make 2 trips a week. You gotta remember right now they're carrying 30%. The ships in Nassau are carrying 30% of the goods. So they just got triple their capacity and they'll be carrying 100% of the goods. I mean that's what the math's saying. And they could triple their capacity and they could triple the amount of times they going into Florida and coming out. So what that tells us?
You talking about local Bahamian-owned ships?
I talking about Bahamian-owned ships that go in and out of Florida today. The Tom Hanna fleet, the Elvin Taylor fleet, the vessel that goes for Bahamas ferries, the vessels for Ernestine. All of them are fleets of vessels that go in and out of Florida. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, but it's not 30%. I don't think it's.
Well, how much you think it is?
It's not 30%.
Well, if Tropical carry,
because when you compare the container size ships that and then you have to also remember Tropical charters some of these mail boats as well to further ships. So
they only charter them because they don't have the draft to get in places like Georgetown. They don't have the draft. See, and that's one of the things we ought to cut out. We ought to cut that out. There's no reason why, but the only reason why that's happening is because the people who Tropical providing that service for are insisting that Tropical be responsible for the entire leg of that voyage, right? But that ain't necessary. If Tropical bring the goods in Nassau and then the mail boat just take a little bit out, having to engage a contract with Tropical, that wouldn't be the case. And if some of these Bahamian-owned vessels are now bringing the stuff from Florida, they can carry it straight to Exuma because they have the draft to go straight in Georgetown Harbor. So a lot of things will change, and we will see that as more advantageous to use Bahamian-owned vessel than to be using Tropical shipping. Tropical shipping is really because they deal with the big boys, you know. They deal with the big boys who really, in my opinion, may not want to deal with the local Bahamian fellas. So we need to understand why things are the way they are. And what our capacity is if we was to get the volume. Because we can increase our capacity. So I don't want you to, for 1 minute, think, we have to stop. Pardon?
Increase the capacity in the short term.
We can increase the capacity even more in the long term because we can add ships to the fleet.
But yes, but my thing is that when you go and do that, then 1 year from now, Trump decides to change his policy.
Well then, at least you got it.
It's even though he has made an executive order and he's put this and that in place to execute, you know, at the last minute or the day before, he's been adjusting or changing his mind about things. And so that's why I believe Tropical made a concerted effort to go and argue their point.
Yeah, well, everybody would go and argue that point if they're about to face being shut down, eh? They are actually faced with they're about to be shut down. You realize that?
No, because they're going to transfer the fee on to the public.
No, but the public ain't going to buy that. So they're going to have to shut down. They wouldn't be able to make a profit. That's what they say, and I ain't telling you what I think.
No, but I'm talking about if you look at, like, just look at one company, and I'm not going to call a name. I'm just saying, if that person is using the entire Tropical 1,100 container capacity, just one, and Tropical is running 3 times or 2 times, 3 times a week just for that one.
No, but Tropical don't bring things for just one company with no one trip.
I'm saying that particular company.
Yeah, Tropical will bring some for them. I used to work with Tropical. They bring some for them on every trip, but the whole ship ain't gonna be for them.
Yes, I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying that if Tropical is making that many trips, 1,100 containers per trip,
Yeah.
right? And that's just one ship, and then they going down south.
No, but Tropical don't come full every time. Sometimes Tropicals come half full. I don't want you to think because they have that capacity means every time they come they bring in that.
Well, I don't see them. Nobody is gonna.
I can tell you, I work around those ships. I drive those ships. I work with Tropical shipping. I see as a pilot the ships, the stuff they bring. Sometimes they come empty. I don't want you to think this is an ongoing thing that every time they come in they bring in 1,100 TUs. That don't happen like that. Call, I see you on the line. We got another caller. So feel free to call back and let's talk some more. But based on what I'm saying, this is a big opportunity for our Bahamian ship owners.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, darling. Calling you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Captain Brain, I had to get back.
Yes,
Call
sir.
back. Forgive me, but I had to call back.
Go right ahead, my friend. Go right
This is
ahead.
the first time in the history of Bahama land that your caller earlier, I agree with her on a particular point.
Well, go right ahead. I agree with her on some
And
points too.
that point is, I believe, based on the complexity of this supply chain and this whole issue, Tropical shipping, contracts will remain in place because they have contracts. They have ships that were specifically built based around contracts that they were given. They made investments, so it's not something that consumers and hotel owners and warehouse bulk suppliers gonna just dispense with easily. So I believe Tropical will pass those costs. So I'm talking about in the near term. Maybe in the long term, we'll be able to do better. But those costs definitely gonna pass on to the consumer. A lot of those contracts will remain in place. But more importantly, I think we're missing an issue here. The issue, really and truly, from my perspective, is the fact that we have local ships, right? When we increase the capacity based on the new demand, where are these ships going to go?
Where are which ships gonna go? What you mean?
For example, say a Tom Hanna or Ernestine decides I'm going to buy a ship that could carry XYZ 100 containers or whatever the case may be, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have no space at all at the western end of Portuguese. They will go to our shipping, drop off, whatever, but they can't stay there.
Well, where Tropical ship used to go?
They go back to West Farm, I suspect.
No, but I'm talking about you say west of Arawak. Arawak port development, or Arawak container port can take as many Bahamian ships as could come there. See, they're not going to have the volume.
No, I'm not talking about ships that can come and offload. You offload and then you leave. After they will have offload, where will they go to dock? Where will they go to where would be their home port?
They ain't need no home port. Let me tell you something. If they got the volume that they might have, they can just keep moving. What they need home port for?
No, man. Yeah, the reality is
they can just keep moving. They ain't have time to hang up nowhere.
There's something called maintenance. There's something called crew change out. There's something called refueling. There's something called general ship services like inspections and regulatory issues that ships have to go through.
Now, let me ask you a question.
It's not, you cannot.
No. It don't go like how you think. It don't go like how you think. Ships don't stop their operation for these things. These things happen but I managed 2 ships for 2 years. I captained a ship for 2 years, right? And I can tell you that these things happen while the ship is offloading freight. These things happen while the ship is in the U.S. with parts. People come there. These things don't. These happen while operation goes on. Only when you go to dry dock. Only when ships go to dry dock. I know I'm in the real world, man. The real world.
Where will they berth to do anything other than drop off or take on freight? Where will they berth?
Where do ships berth now? Where do
But
ships
there's a
berth?
big mess now. That's the point.
No, but you have so much of them moving around. Ain't much of them gonna be the Porter's Key no more. They ain't got time to stay there. Porter's Key could be empty most of the time if that happens.
Well,
Yes.
I hope you're right, but
I could tell you I'm right. When I was dealing with the Freeport Flyer, let me tell you this experience I don't know.
And I think the contracts that exist right now for Bahamas and the wider Caribbean, I think those contracts are tropical for efficiency reason as well, because.
But let me explain something to you about tropical. Tropical.
We already have all.
For tropical to continue making money.
Right.
Tropical will probably make arrangements for these Bahamian ships to come to their facility to be loaded so that they can continue to be in the mix where they're making some money. They can't use their ships, but they still could use their facility. So all of these contracts they have may continue, but they'll just have the Bahamian ship actually picking up the stuff from there, bringing them across here, coming back for more, etc., etc. So Tropical will still be able to operate its facility. It just can't use them 9 ships.
Okay, but what based on the
And that will be a win-win for everybody.
Just call it what stops Tropical from changing out ships for this particular reason. And making some adjustments in terms of the vessels that they currently use, and do they have businesses in other South America and other places as well?
Well, they could use, the thing about it is their base, their hub, right, is West Palm Beach. Tropical don't have no other hub.
Yeah.
So you think they're going to relocate their hub?
Well, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Boy, if they do that, that'll take them a year to do.
Interesting times ahead.
Interesting times ahead, and come next week Thursday, boy, we'll be watching with all eyes, eh?
Oh, indeed.
Friday,
and
big things gonna have to happen.
And we have to get our act together. We should do to upgrade this industry. I hope our minister responsible for the maritime industry is listening, because we have a lot of work to do in getting our ships ready and prepared for some of these global shifts, and so, hey, we got to get it done.
We got to get it done, but I like I said, I think it's a golden opportunity for regular Bahamian ship owners. It's an opportunity for other persons in the Bahamas. And then I've had 1 or 2 calls from people who don't even know nothing, but they're saying, trying to figure out, is it worth even buying a ship for this?
Well, the biggest challenge you're going to have from the get-go, in my opinion, is where are you going to berth these ships?
The ships are going to be berthing where they berth today.
Unless you make stuff, they anchor off, offload, go to Anchorage, which could work because it happens around the world.
Yeah, but so why wouldn't they be able to berth where they berth now at Porter's Key if a lot of them are going to be busy? They can be busy.
So right now, they rotate in order to offload, and then they go.
Yeah, but some of them sit on the dock for a long time because they don't have the demand. Once that demand comes, most of them can't sit to no dock. They can be up and down all the time.
From my observation, and I think the previous caller could give us a little bit more insight in that. From my observation, they go and come. They don't sit for very, very long.
That's because they don't have the demand. When I was running Freeport Flyer, there was only one night that ship wasn't on the sea. You know what night that was? That was when we were in Fernandina Beach on a Saturday night. That was the only. Every night they leave and go they trading to get to another port. They carrying some every single night of the week for years. So because there was a demand. That's what demand do with ships.
Well, we have to, like I said, our people got to be ready.
Our people ready, man. We only need to be given an opportunity, and you will see us spring in action. You think we easy it? We're not easy. We got people who can handle these kind of. I can tell you, once the opportunity is there, it can happen.
Okay.
I've seen it happen with Bahamians.
Yeah, well, I don't have no doubt that we have Bahamians who could do the job. It's just that there's so much things that need to be in place in terms of infrastructure, in terms of regulatory oversight in terms of, there's a lot of different stuff that we need to.
Yeah, but those things will come along. Those things will come along with the ride.
When you talk
Infrastructure.
about global trade.
You're not talking about global trade. You're talking about regional trade. You're talking about Florida and the Bahamas. That's it. Florida and Nassau. That's it. Freeport. That's it.
That's international trade. Then that's it.
Yeah, but don't say global because they ain't getting nowhere else.
Even there may be opportunities. There may be opportunities that arise within the Southern Caribbean.
We call this trade or fixed routes, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is.
But also you remember now, this is global because a lot of the containers they could originate anywhere in the world.
But that have nothing to do with the voyage. The voyage is not global. Yeah, but the voyage is a fixed route.
Yeah, but hold on. Tropical in very, very often is a feeder ship. See, containers offload at, say, West Palm Beach or Miami or George Island there. Tropical pickup. They take it onward, continue the supply chain onward to the Bahamas, onward to the Caribbean region, the wider Caribbean region. So it's not a back and forth two-way trade. It's a feeder system that
the feeder system
supply chain.
The feeder system is what all of our vessels do. Captain Elvin Taylor would have a warehouse and an agent in the U.S. and you could book things and you could book things from anywhere in the world and send to that address, and they will get it from there here. But how it get there ain't their business.
Exactly. So the trade is global in nature. It's not.
No, the trade is not global in nature. The trade that we talk about when we use in Bahamian vessels is fixed routes. That it doesn't matter where the cargo come from to get where they got to pick it up. The only time they involve is when they pick it up from there to bring it to Nassau. That's what we're talking about. And that's what Tropical will no longer be able to do without paying $1 million every time the ship returns.
Well, let's just see. Maybe we watch it close, and maybe there may be some new developments. But this is going to be interesting times.
These are very interesting times, my friend.
Indeed. Thank you, sir.
Well, just hang on, because we got we got some big things about to happen. Well, it appeared that the Bahamians we would be, and the thing is, once this happened, let's say it already happened, because it looked like it could happen next week Thursday, right? Once this happened, and we got our big suppliers realize that our Bahamian fleets, they could adopt one or two ships for their purpose, which will be just you remember marine tankers doing their thing with the oil majors. What they do, they will get together. No, they will get together with the oil major, and they build most of their ships in Holland, and they will agree on the volumes that have to be moved, the type of product that have to be moved, and together they will say, well, we are going to build this ship for your purpose, and you will give us an ongoing charter for 10 years or whatnot, right? And the ships were built. Each of those ships were built for whichever major needed to move stuff. These ships are not built to just go anywhere with any one of those majors, So what I'm saying is, a Super Value or a Bahama or an Atlantis can get together with our local ship owners and design ships moving forward for what their needs are. And until that time comes, the ships that are in the system now could be utilized the best way they could be utilized. And I said tropical shipping, which will have a part to play, because they have contracts with these people that they will no longer be able to sustain. And if they can't sustain it, they could be looking to help these people. Because
I could tell you, having worked in the hotel industry for more than a decade, the hotel industry is now the capital outlay with regards to designing a ship or building a ship. That's not a part of what they do. That would be a major paradigm shift if that was to happen.
Well, I'm just saying, out of courtesy, you could involve. If the hotel industry is not particularly interested in that, then we could have a group of people like you and another 10 fellas who got plenty dollars, and we can let you all buy the shares to build the ship, eh?
You,
so it's so many different ways it can happen.
but you know, I think the hypothetical situations that you are alluding to are things that they are kind of, particularly when you talk about hotels coming together, they're kind of far-fetched. Hotels they operate on, they are very the margins and what they're not going to do it, and it's going to be something completely out of the realm of what hotels typically do. However, what I think can happen, and you alluded to this, they have a lot of Bahamian businessmen in the country who have those dollars, like you would have said.
Yeah, man, your friends.
Me not included.
Your friends.
who can get together and create a venture where you speak into the Bahamas or the Atlantis, and you under the Cisco and all these other entities, and you're determining what their demand is like, and then you tailor your ship build to the size and the volumes that are anticipated.
Yeah,
and that can work. That is very viable because one, you are aware that there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to capital and investments, and there's a lot of Bahamians who have the means to do it. It's just a matter of getting them interested enough in this particular type of business to put their money where their mouth is and to create new wealth for themselves and their generations.
Yeah, because when I see them fellas, I see you be playing golf on Saturday morning, and all they looking all they're looking for is opportunities to spend them big dollars on.
That's Maritime Matters, Captain Herbert Bain out.
Yes, my brother. Thank you so much for calling. Yeah, that's my good friend, General. But Alpheus, Captain Herbie Bain, and yes, he can galvanize some of his big buck, his big money friends, and they can build a series. They can build like 5 ships. Fit for purpose to just operate between Florida and the Bahamas to be bringing in supplies for some of these entities, and he called some names like Cisco and the major hotels and some of these entities that sell building supplies, and the places that got the big warehouse that bring in a lot of stuff and move a lot of stuff. They would be able to get companies together, or they can join up with companies like the mail boat and Dane Shipping and them fellas and get together and buy more hardware along with these people, because these people are already in the business and they know what they're doing, yada yada yada. And the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. This could be an opportunity that the Bahamas have never ever seen before when it comes to maritime or moving goods from Florida to the Bahamas. So let's see how it all pans out, like he said, and we hope for the best. But if that seismic shift was to happen, we will definitely see a major paradigm shift in what we call regional shipping, not only between Florida and the Bahamas, but more impactingly, I don't know if that's a word, Misty don't call me, more impactingly from Florida to the rest of the Caribbean, particularly the Eastern Caribbean. I even ain't talking about Jamaica and Cayman, but the Eastern Caribbean, which is so far away from Florida, and all the stuff coming through Florida, and even with the airplanes. For those of us who know, if you want to get to the Eastern Caribbean, you go through Miami. In some cases Fort Lauderdale, but mainly Miami, and it's the same thing with Central America. From this area, you want to go to those countries. We don't go directly from the Bahamas. Well, we may go to Panama now with direct flights, but we don't do much direct flights. Most of those countries, if you want to get to them, you got to channel yourself through Florida. Okay? And that's in my experience, and I think that's just the way it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Maritime Matters. On this show, we talk Maritime. I'm your host, Captain Glenn Bain. I'm accompanied by my producer, Mr. Craig Gibson. We've had a few calls so far. We're discussing the impact of the China-built ships going into the U.S. We have one of the main companies that is going to be impacted if that was to happen, and we anticipated it probably might happen come Thursday of next week, is tropical shipping. And from the time we were little children, well, I over 60 now, so the time I was a little child growing up, I knew about tropical shipping coming to bring things in the Bahamas, and never been faced with anything like this, but we will all have to sit and see how it all pans out. We are moving to our first break, I think our only break, since we're done more than halfway through the show. So stand by. Our number to call when we come back is 326-8255. You're listening to Maritime Matters.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Maritime Matters. I'm your host, Captain Glenn Bain. I am joined by my producer, Mr. Craig Gibson, and we are bringing it to you live from our studios here in Love 97, and we are discussing some maritime issues that hot out the press. As you know, we dealing with next week's Thursday being the deadline for China-built ships going into the U.S. to be fined $1 million up to $1.5 million every time they would enter U.S. waters. And we have one of our largest supplier for the Caribbean, or our largest supplier for the Caribbean, tropical shipping, supplies Nassau, Freeport, and most of the major cities or harbors in the Caribbean and Central America. And they are being faced with this big challenge, because if they have to pay $1 million every time one of those 9 ships that they had made in China recently returns to the U.S., whereas they're based in West Palm Beach, they wouldn't be able to make a profit. They probably wouldn't be able to continue paying the mortgage on those ships in full, and they will have to, in more cases than not, they would have to consider just closing their doors, because they wouldn't be able to make their operation feasible anymore. And that is a big deal to the Bahamas, and that is a bigger deal to the rest of the Caribbean that depends more heavily on tropical shipping than we do. Now we have a makeshift arrangement that we could utilize. Of course, it wouldn't be nowhere near as effective as tropical shipping operation could be, but at least we could continue the service going on without that levy of $1 million per trip being applied. Because if you get an argument that tropical shipping is making is, look, our ships are like 1,100 TEUs, like 1,000 TEUs, which means they could carry just over 1,000 20-foot containers per time, and you're applying the same $1 million to ships that carry 16,000 containers at a time. And the largest container ship in the world, they carry somewhere in the range of 21 to 23,000 containers at one time. Okay? So we talking about small ships compared to the ships that Mr. Trump had in mind when he made this mandate to cause that $1 million to be levied. And again, I don't think this mandate is being put in place for ships that return to the U.S. on a, say, weekly basis. Because, Mr. Trump, he's thinking about worldwide trade for the most part. But he didn't give exemption for those either. So, in my mind, I'm saying, Mr. Trump is probably saying, you had rights to build a ship in America or somewhere else. You decide you want to build your ship in China. I didn't decide that. But now since you decide that, you can pay for it. That's hard. We know. But we're also looking at the spin-out benefits that can be received out of this problem for local Bahamian ship owners that has ships that can trade with Florida as we speak. And we have a good grouping of them. And we're saying that, yes, some configuration will have to be made if they're going to have to convert from Ro-Ro to Lolo. And y'all may think I talk in foolishness, but Ro-Ro simply means roll on, and when you get where you go, and roll it back off. So most of our local Bahamian-owned vessels that go into Florida, they only use chassis and roll the container on, and then when they reach where they go in, they get the trailer head, hook up the chassis, and roll it back off. Right? Because the volume that they have is only enough to get on the deck of the ship and the whole deck in many cases don't even be completely filled before they come back out of the States. Right? So if they have a mandate or enough volume now, so they don't need to use chassis anymore, because what they could be doing now is when they go to the US, they could load on. They could have the gantry crane, the straddle carriers bring it up to the gantry crane grab it, or even if you're in gantry crane, you could use the type cranes that we use at our local Arawak Port Development or Nassau Container Port. They don't have gantry cranes. So we have gantry cranes at the shipyard in Freeport, because of course they're doing a much volume, larger international, like this MSC now. We're talking about big boys, right? And big ships that have to be in and out of there to transfer containers. So we just talking about the local stuff with coming into land and clear here in Nassau. So we only need those cranes, and I can't remember what them cranes named that Tropical uses, and that obviously they use on the Florida side at Tropical Shipping and at some other ports have the smaller cranes where containers could be loaded onto small vessels. And we say small vessels because when you compare the Bahamian-owned vessels, which are for the most part under 500 gross tons, some like 800 tons, some like just over 1,000 tons. But yeah, no, we're not going to have many of them that are going to be over 500 tons. But they can go low. What is the low now? Oh, Glenn, you're talking foolishness. He was talking but Ro-Ro, now you're talking about Lolo? Okay, so Ro-Ro is roll on, roll off. Lolo is load on, load off. In other words, you can use a crane to get it on the ship, and in that case, you could stack. What do we mean by stacking in maritime? Stack means you could actually put containers on top of one another. You see, when they're on the chassis is only designed to carry the weight of one container. But when you move that chassis and you put that straight on the deck of the ship, you can put a container on top of that, then put another container on top of that. But of course, you got to lash them down as you go, because when the ship starts rocking, you want them to fall overboard. Eh? So you lash them down accordingly, and you got a lot of turnbuckles and all kind of things that you actually lash them with as they go higher. Still lash them to the deck, or lash them, twist lock to lash them onto the other container. And these are terms that we use in containerized shipping. But we can find a way for each one of our ships to carry more containers, so long as when they get here, they got a crane to take them off. And that's why we're saying that we can have a makeshift arrangement that can facilitate most of what's going on today from tropical shipping. And then we don't wish tropical shipping no harm, because I'm saying that tropical shipping can still have a part to play. They have a facility where all those containers could continue to come, and our ships could go there just like how they go to Arawak Port Development and take on containers from tropical that needs to come to some of their suppliers that they contracted with and all the rest of that. And then over time you can tweak it, but you don't want the supplies to stop coming because tropical are using the ships. I don't think tropical want that. I don't think the suppliers want that, and we don't need that. If we could do a makeshift arrangement, eh? And that's how me, Glenn, being looking at it. I think it could be a win-win in the sense that tropical don't have to stop making money altogether because they can't use their own ships, because they could charge for the use of that facility. They're not going to make the same amount of money because at the end of the day, their ships are sidelined or will be sidelined if nothing changes. And if their ships are sidelined and they're still paying mortgage on those ships, most of the money could be just to pay mortgage. They ain't gonna really be making no profit for a couple of years, eh? And of course, I guess they could try trade out those ships. Now, like I told you earlier, those ships are purpose built. And by being purpose built, it's very hard to find a ship to just trade them out with. But of course, you could always find use for them. And over time, they probably would end up, well, we don't know. After 5 years, things may change. After 1 year, after 1 month, we don't know how this thing will pan out, eh? But we still need to make arrangement to keep things going. And look at my time going, Jessica, I'll be trying to keep things going. And this can be a problem because I got another topic that I ain't touched yet. But we only got 10 minutes left. So I ain't supposed to touch this next topic. Number to call if you want in on this discussion is 326-8255. 326-8255. We've had a couple callers already, and they made extremely good contribution to this topic. And we got pros and cons. I don't know it all. Don't mind me, Cannon, like, oh, what I say. No, some of them may be more right than me. But I still got to express my views, eh? And my views are based on experience and based on what I say in the dailies and based on you know, what I have to, things to fall back on. So, yes, they got good views and their views are not necessarily wrong, but, you know, we need to tweak sometimes to get between the two and get to the bottom of the meat. So, my next topic would have been, and we ain't got time to discuss this, so let me just run over it, eh? They got new power plants for Abercorn and Lutra being set up by certain entities, right? Now, we know that power plants belong to BPL. Oh, look, if we get a call, they don't want me to switch this topic, I guess. Call you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Captain Glenn,
yes, my brother.
what's happening with shipping is probably a blessing in the sky for Bahamian ship owners.
I agree with you 1,000 times, my friend.
Why should tropical as I'm going to go aboard by saying robbed and raped the Bahamas for so long. But it's basically what it is. Why should a container come from China for $1,000 less base rate than one coming from 150 miles away?
Yeah, but that's because they can get away with it, eh?
Exactly my point.
And the sad thing about it is we got local ship owners that charging around the same thing.
But what I'm saying is that these local ship owners, the money at least we know stays here in the Bahamas.
Well, that's true.
All these local ship owners, I've heard you mention the names before.
Yeah, it's quite a few of them.
They live and spend their money in the Bahamas.
Yeah, and if
they're Bahamian owned.
Yeah.
They're not Bahamian crewed, unfortunately, but it's what it is.
But you know, most of us Bahamians prefer foreign, you know, because somebody is.
I was going to get to that in my next point.
Some of these ventures that have contract. Yeah, because but see, everybody gets burned because if it wasn't like that and they were using the Bahamian carriers more, then they wouldn't have been faced with this problem, eh?
The Danes, the Taylors, the Hunters.
Yeah.
If those ships were load on and load off, and they run constantly, we would have no problem with nothing left behind in Florida if we need here in the Bahamas.
I agree 1,000 times. But some people prefer foreign, so they're trying to support the local ship owners because they have the flexibility to use foreign.
And these guys, some of them already running to Florida twice a week.
That's right. That's right. And some only go once a
And if
month.
the business was there, like you say, sure, the fleet would increase.
The fleet can increase, the capacity can increase, the frequency can increase, and if that happens, we don't need tropical shipping to even be coming here. And if the suppliers, if the persons, the entities that need this service realize that the Bahamian companies could do it, they would not even be inclined to say, well, boy, when it's over, we're going back over here, we're going back over there, because they'd be comfortable, everybody be comfortable. And stuff could come from Florida directly to the Family Islands.
And let me give you a little typical example. They bring a 40-foot container from Florida right now in the business that I do.
Yeah.
To get it at the dock is $9,000, and the stuff is duty free.
$9,000?
And the stuff is duty free.
What? So
now
I understand that to have a container come from,
charges with water and all that.
but I hear to have a container come all the way from China costs $15,000. A 40-foot container all the way from China.
I tell you, the base rate of a container from China is $1,000 or more or less than from 150 miles away.
How could that?
What be wrong with that?
How could that make sense? That can't even make no sense. Something have to be wrong with that.
Florida right now, which I'm about to do. Well, I can't do that now. I got to hold back on that to see what's going to happen with these added charges.
You can wait till Thursday?
But last month it was 9,000 and change.
Wow.
And the stuff in the container is duty free.
And they say they got to double that, so that'd be $18,000. If this thing was to happen where they get paid $1 million every time they return.
My boat also goes to Florida to pick up the same stuff.
Yeah, but you could utilize the local. I don't know if the local Bahamians charge you the same thing or not, but at least you have that option to use the local Bahamian vessels that are not built in China and don't have to double the fee. You know, but yeah, we have an opportunity here, and if you bring in stuff often, maybe you have an opportunity to get in the shipping business, because that's how most of them got in the shipping business. They're bringing in their own stuff. And as people started to tie it around, I hear that.
The same $9,000 container I tell you about, I could also send my own boat in the Florida to pick that up. I can't bring all one time, but I make you trip.
Yeah, well, if it's going to be cheaper to do that, but I'm sure you ain't going to pay $18,000, eh?
No, sir, never. I would be like tropical a little bit.
Yeah, so I would recommend to you to use one of those same names you call, use one of their vessels to continue bringing in your provided you was using tropical shipping. I don't know if you're using tropical shipping, but if
we were using tropical and up to this point. Now going forward, I don't know what's going to happen. But all the names that in the shipping business, I know them personally.
Yeah, but the good thing about it is if that demand pops his head up, because the demand is there, you can use them without wondering how long your stuff can take to come. Because I understand that you would use tropical shipping because you wanted the consistency and fluency in your stuff coming through, right? And they don't go twice a week like tropical and stuff like that for the most part.
Some of them actually do, but the thing with our type of shipping, we even ain't worrying about being consistent, because we only do this a couple times twice a year.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
okay.
we normally do this time here now that is the off season.
Yes.
So if it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks to wait on it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, so you ain't feel sorry for tropical shipping at all then?
Not at all. Not at all. Let's support Bahamian.
Yeah, I always support the Bahamian thing, man. Especially if there's no need to avoid the Bahamians, you know. Because I even the government seem to send a lot of stuff on those other carriers when they bring in things like BPL and Batelco and agencies that always need stuff coming in. Sometimes they use the local Bahamian fellas, but it was no mandate that they use the local fellas and keep them in business.
Use the local ones when they get to go down for Ireland when they could owe them.
Exactly. Well, I think that's what one of my other callers said. That boy, the money they owe you and how long they owe you. But if they use tropical and they pay them, they have a system of paying for things, and I don't. But those two, PPL and Batelco, they don't have a problem paying. I don't know what ministry works in them. Maybe you got wait a little long when they're bringing in things for those other government entities because they tied directly with the treasury system to be paid. But anyway, my friend.
Keep up the good work and don't let that other comrade of yours step on the throw, man. That's another one.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling. And please continue to listen to the show every time you get an opportunity. And yeah, man, we can try to keep it going.
Yeah, bro. Thank you.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Yes, that makes the third caller for the show tonight. And that brings our show to conclusion. Did I say good night to my Annie Mae? Boy, Annie Mae, I even know if I tell you good night, Annie Mae. Boy, my Annie Mae is 92 years old and getting stronger and going into 93 with a blast. And we tell me when she reaches over 100, she can start figuring out, boy, let me see when I can start feeling a little challenge. Because she feeling good and everything rolling. Mentally strong. Annie Mae, I say good night to you one more time. You're the #1 fan on Maritime Matters. And I thank my callers for making the show even better tonight. I thank my producer for keeping things ticking, Mr. Craig Gibson. And of course, I got to thank the people who keep us on the show. Bahamas Maritime Connection, Island Care Pharmacy, and 101 Pharmacy. They're the ones who sponsors the show and keep us going. And I say to you, dear listener, I thank you for continuing to listen and contribute. With that, we say to you tonight, Maritime Matters, tick, 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 out.